can you articulate a comprehensive view on the nature of man? Let me stop there and say, I do have several videos on the nature of man. Matter of fact, if you typed in my name or Soteriology 101 there at our YouTube page and Nature of Man, you would find a video where I go through our statement of faith with many, many verses on the nature of man. If I can remember, I can put into the show notes a link to that video, but you should be able to find it if you just type in Nature of Man and my name. It'll be the top on the search feature, and you can watch that video. It's a 20, 30-minute video or so on my more comprehensive perspective on the nature of man. And you also asked, taking into account not only his sin aspect, but as an image bearer of God, a worm versus a little lower than God. And this is something we've pointed out before, is something that we push back against some of our Calvinist friends with regard to how men are described. And there's a tendency among theologians, whether Calvinist or not, to really it's almost like a competition of sorts to see how much we can describe men in the worst possible terms so as to degrade and to denigrate humanity altogether, because we're just horrible dirt, worms, nothing. And it's almost like there's this pious pride that comes from how much my theology denigrates humanity, almost seemingly forgetting that we're creations of our God. We're made in His image. And sometimes this is a pendulum swing issue. And I understand it because I went through it myself as a former Calvinist and as one who grew up in a more seeker-sensitive, a very egotistical, very man-centered kind of a theological movement in the 90s, where people are a lot more focused, it seems, on what men want and what pleases man and what is glorifying to man. And I understand that the pendulum sometimes from that kind of environment can swing so far in the opposite direction that we completely and totally annihilate any sense of man's worth in the image of God as image bearers of God. And I think that can be dangerous. And I've even heard, in fact, I almost played, and I haven't done this yet, I need to go back and find it. I think it's John Piper, maybe MacArthur, I can't remember, one of the big name guys, talking about this very issue, where he was actually concerned with the fact that there's this tendency to so upplay man's depravity that you downplay man's worth in the sight of God as one who is loved and valued because he is a creation of God. And this is one I think that we have to be careful on, because there is the truth of our depravity, our sinfulness, and that apart from God, we don't have worth or value. Our value is found in Him because He is our maker. He is our creator. He's the one who gives us worth and value. And He obviously, because He sent His Son to die for the sins of the world, He values us because He's a loving and caring and gracious and good God. He doesn't love us because He has to. He loves us because that's His character. That's who He is. And because of that, we have value in Him. We have true worth in Him. And so I think that's important to point out, is that we as Christians, generally speaking, whether Calvinist or not, can, in a pendulum swing kind of situation where we're trying to push against a more man-centered, very humanistic type of theological easy believism types of, and when I say easy believism, I'm talking about this Joel Osteen-esque, health, wealth, prosperity, name it, claim it type of theology that we're seeing predominantly in our culture, and a pushback from that can sometimes lead to an extreme other perspective that can really undermine, I think, the biblical teaching of the value of being an image bearer of God, and that all people have worth, that all people have value. The reason we stand so much against abortion and taking the life of others or suicide or anything that devalues life is because of this doctrine of man's worth in the eyes of his creator as image bearers of God, that we do have worth. And I know a lot of Calvinistic friends who would agree with me on that particular point. So that's not necessarily a Calvinism versus Arminianism or provisionism issue. That's just sometimes a overemphasis on a doctrine that you neglect other important truths and doctrines that I think have to be pointed out as well.